And now for what's going on over at St. John Arena. Here's Brad Murray.
For over 60 years, St. John Arena has been a staple of campus. It has held numerous historical events, as well as Skull Session every football Saturday. Its future, however, is uncertain. I caught up with some students to talk about what they think should happen with the arena.
Yeah, I think they should definitely keep it because there's just a long tradition. I don't know how long it's been here, but it's been here for a very long time. A lot of sporting events still go on there, so it's fun to go there. And if they do tear it down, they'll have to also take those events elsewhere or build a new stadium, which would be nice, but it's a lot of money, and it doesn't have the same tradition as St. John's does as well.
Well, personally, I think that building should stay. I mean, it really just needs a few touches here and there, like the bathrooms probably need a little renovation, but other than that, it would be usable for basketball games here and there. I don't think there's any reason they should tear that down.
Built in 1956, St. John Arena was named after former athletic director Lynn St. John. Over the years, it has seen thousands of athletic events, as well as graduations, skull sessions, and a speech from President Ford. Its hallways are lined with Buckeye legends from Chick Harley to Troy Smith. Recently, Ohio State men's basketball coach Chris Holtman said he would be interested in playing a few games at St. John Arena.
I think that's absolutely something they should do. I think that they should be playing a game a year there versus Michigan State, Michigan, wearing those gray throwback unis. I think that would be awesome.
I think that'd be a great idea, especially if St. John's, if they tear St. John's down, and with how good our basketball team's doing now before the tournament, I think it'd be a great idea.
For BuckeyeTV, I'm Brad Murray.
Would you volunteer to be hooked up to sensors for extra credit? BuckeyeTV reporter Ashley Harris has more.
Here in the journalism building, the School of Communications is studying how students react to media through bodily functions. I was able to find out firsthand how these studies are conducted. Media is all around us and consumes us daily. Analysts in the Communication and Psychophysiology Lab are conducting research to find out how media affects us by monitoring heart rate, sweat glands, and eye movement. To do this, researchers place sensors on the hands and heart, as well as use eye monitoring devices to detect eye movement. Researcher Xiaodan Hu explained that the researcher displays a picture on the screen and monitors the participant's reaction based on the picture.
In this lab, we have this device here. We can use it to collect your heart rate variability data, heart rate.
She also explained how they measure your reaction through your sweat glands.
When you get excited or when you're scared, well, in general, this kind of reaction in your sweat gland can help us to understand how your attention network works and how you respond to certain stimuli on the screen.
Afterwards, I talked with participant Teresa Bell to hear her take on the experiment.
It was really cool, and I got to see my heart rate and some other wave after, so that was really cool.
If you're looking for volunteer hours or extra credit, contact the School of Communication for more details. For Buckeye TV News, I'm Ashley Harris.
Despite pushback from within his own party, President Trump is prepared to go ahead today with stiff tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, ignoring concerns over the action igniting a potential trade war. However, White House officials have said the plan could exempt certain allied countries, including Canada and Mexico. White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro said the president plans on signing this ceremony this afternoon, and the tariffs would go into effect within 30 days.
If you've ever thought about starting your own podcast, now might be the time. Jared Mogan has the story.
Podcasting continues to become more economically viable as it increases in popularity. And here at Ohio State, students are getting in on the action.
I've been podcasting for about 3 or 4 years now. Here at Ohio State, we just kind of started last semester.
Jake and Zach podcast from the Lanner newsroom, but without that access, they said the activity would get pretty expensive.
We would need the equipment, we would need the ability to host the feed, to put it out and, push it on social media or whatnot. There's a lot of funds that can come into that.
So it's a good thing a new report is attracting advertisers to podcasts.
Having money and having some sort of revenue makes even better content coming out of podcasts. So it's a kind of a short loss for a listener for maybe 15 seconds of an advertisement, but it pays off in the end because you're getting what you want out of that, and it'll probably make better quality stuff in the end. So.
But with more than 250,000 podcasts listed on iTunes alone, Zach said it's important for podcasters to find a way to stand out.
We started a movie podcast, and before we got it really off the ground, we had to sit and think about it. Like, look, there's 200, 300, 400 movie podcasts. What's going to make ours different?
Still, only 40% of people have listened to a podcast. The guys had some advice for those looking for new content.
I mean, they should be listening to low production value. Our movie podcast.
For BuckeyeTV, I'm Jared Mogan.
With 70 different fraternal organizations on campus and 12% of the student body involved, some students choose to live in fraternity houses. Here's Buckeye reporter Yuman Choi with more.
With over 5,600 involved in Greek life here at OSU, Greek life has always flourished. However, students must make a decision once they join these organizations whether they want to live in their chapter house or not. I've asked several fraternity members why they decided to live in their chapter house.
I felt like I wasn't really branching out from like the people of the last 2 years basically, and I felt like I also wasn't really in this fraternity because I had been in it for 3 semesters, and felt like I didn't really have any friends, so I felt like this would be a good way to kind of integrate myself more.
Students have the option after the first 2 years to live in a dorm, in off-campus housing, or in a Greek house, which has its own issues.
It's just so dirty all the time. Like, there's no accountability.
It's a lot louder than I was hoping, or that I planned for, so I had a little trouble sleeping at times.
Can't really study anywhere in the house, so you have to be. I'm at the library all the time. It's like, there's just nowhere else to do it.
Students involved with STEP can live in a Greek house after the first year as long as it is STEP approved. Living in a Greek house does have its upsides.
Some pros of living in the house, like I said before, cheap rent, very cheap. There's no rules. I get to cook my own meals, which I like to do. I like to cook. So you can't do that when you're living in a dorm because there's no kitchen. I mean, our kitchen isn't the best, but it does a job. I just made a meal right now, so it's okay.
I had already signed a lease before I was given the opportunity / the offer to live in the house. I wish I would have lived in the house, but yeah, that's pretty much the only reason why I didn't live in the house. I had already signed a lease and I wasn't able to back out.
As we can see, there are definitely pros and cons of living in a chapter house. That leaves it up to each individual to make the decision on whether they want to live there or not. Reporting for BuckeyeTV, this has been Yuman Choi.
Still ahead, we've got your spring break weather report and sports update after the break.